listening to Cup of Queens with Paige and Saray, and today we're so excited. We are interviewing Jocelyne Lamoureux, who is an American ice hockey forward from Grand Forks, North Dakota. Her and her sister Monique are not only athletes, but they are authors, they've started their own foundation, and they have recently entered into motherhood.
The Lamoureux twins have done so much within their career, including 2 silver medals at the United States Women's National Ice Hockey Team in 2010 and 2014 Winter Olympics, along with a gold medal finish in the 2018 Olympics. But these 2 are so much more than the medals and the trophies. They've really endured a lot within their career that they talk about with us today and in their book.
So grab your cup and enjoy! How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. We're so excited to have you.
Thanks for having me, appreciate it.
Yeah. We have some questions for you. We're super excited to hear about all the things that you guys are doing. Because the list is long. But it's all good stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how have things been going for you guys in these last couple of months?
Well, it's been super busy. Monique just had a baby 4 weeks ago, and then we announced our retirement in February, and then our book came out a month later, and then Monique had her baby. So it's all been pretty crazy, but I would say it's slowed down a little bit for us in the last couple weeks. But it's been a good change of pace. I think stepping away from hockey and announcing that and being able to really focus on what's next for us and putting more time and energy into our foundation has been really rewarding, and focusing on basically our families and being moms. So it's been an adjustment, but a good adjustment.
So exciting.
Mm-hmm. It's probably the slowest pace your life has ever been. You know,
but also
the fastest. Yeah,
yeah.
Also the fastest.
I think it's just been different. We're used to traveling, and obviously COVID plays a major role in that. But it's just been, I would say it's been different. I don't know if it's definitely, well, it's slower a little bit, but it's still pretty hectic. I think just because we're moms of toddlers now that like to run everywhere. So, but it's been, I think, it's been a good change of priorities as far as where we're putting our time and what we're putting our time into. So it's been a good change of pace, but we're still pretty busy.
Yeah. Oh, fun.
So
and your
awesome.
guys' kids close in age, right? You're one son and
Yep. So my Monique's oldest son is 6 weeks older than my son, and then she just had another baby boy a month ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. All the boys.
I know.
So,
I know.
So speaking of boys, you guys grew up with boy siblings in a hockey family. And what was that like for you guys? What was that like growing up with all boys, blazing your own trail in hockey?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was just our normal. It was our family dynamic. So we had 4 older brothers, and there were 6 of us in a 5-year span. And so we were all really tight in age, which is, now that I'm a mom, it's just crazy I don't know how my parents got everyone where they needed to be. There's no major serious injuries in the house. But I think our parents always put us in the same activities or sports that our brothers were doing. And so growing up, we just kind of just followed our brothers around or followed our brothers and their friends around. And so when we were little, it was kind of us 2 and then just our brothers and their friends. So we were kind of always with boys just because that's what the household looked like. But I think in a way they showed us, I don't want to say paved the way, but they showed us what it meant to work hard. And they were such great role models for us. And they had big dreams and wanted to play college hockey and play professional. And 2 of them are still actively playing. And all of them left home early in high school to pursue their hockey dreams. And so at a young age, we're like, okay, if we want to compete at a high level and even give ourselves a chance to accomplish our dreams, we're probably going to have to leave home so that we can be in a competitive environment. And yeah, they just modeled for us, I think, what it meant to sacrifice and to work hard and to, work towards something day in and day out. And then Monique and I having each other, being able to do those things together, definitely, I would say, elevated our game and made us the players that we were, that we were, I guess is fair to say now, throughout our careers.
That is so awesome. And I'm sure they're just over the moon proud of you guys. I mean, look at all you've done.
Yeah.
They have to kind of be
Pat
like, hey,
on the back.
we helped that a little bit.
I think so. I mean, I think it was, in some ways, some people could find it, hard to be in a family that large, because our parents had to pick and choose whose games they were going to go to, especially as we got older. We were all over the country. I remember one year Phil was at North Dakota, Mario was in Nebraska, Pierre Paul was up in Canada, Jacques was at Air Force Academy, and we were in Minneapolis at boarding school. And so my parents had to pick and choose who they were going to go watch. And I think we just always knew that we all supported each other, and we were all trying to, chase dreams and be the best we could be. But we all were each other's biggest cheerleaders. It was a competitive household, but I think it was a healthy competitiveness. And we were always just so happy for each other, whatever accomplishments came our way or came their way.
That is so awesome.
That gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
That dynamic is so great.
That is awesome. And so you and your sister ended up playing at UND, correct?
Yep. Yeah. We played 1 year at the University of Minnesota, and then we transferred and finished the last 3 years of eligibility at North Dakota.
That is awesome. Nice. That you got to experience two separate, environments with that college experience. And, with that, do you feel like that really prepared you guys for what you took on next after college?
I think playing collegiate sports, I think, prepares you just for time management. I mean, if you're playing a Division I sport, it's like having a full-time job on top of going to school. And I would say we learned a lot of those time management skills when we were at Shattuck at boarding school, because we traveled a ton and then had a rigorous academic schedule, which prepared us for college. And I think playing collegiate sports, I think sports is such a great vehicle to teach life lessons, and everything we've learned in hockey, not just from actually playing hockey, but being a good teammate, being accountable, showing up every day on time, ready to go, performing when it matters most. I mean, those things you can apply to basically anything you do in life. And so having something that we were passionate about, that we were able to pursue for so long has been a blessing. And now we're just transitioning that time and energy into something else. But I would say just playing sports and having to prioritize our time in different ways throughout our lives has definitely prepared us, I think, for motherhood and what that looks like. And just juggling different things to, all the things that have to get done in a day. I would say it's prepared us well for life.
Yeah. You never think of how much those things will correlate until you're in that moment. You're like, gosh, I did learn this from my college sport or whatever it was that you did. So that's so awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And I think so many blood, sweat, and tears that go into competing and just day in and day out. So, with that, how do you think that helped you guys develop a really strong work ethic?
Well, I think we talk about this in our book. Our dad would come home from work some days, and we had a shooting tarp next to our garage. And so our brothers would always shoot pucks or stick handle. And so then Monique and I at a young age started, shooting a couple hundred pucks a day in the summer. And he would come home and just very subtly be like, "Oh, did you shoot pucks today?" And some days we'd be like, "Oh no, we haven't done it today yet." And he would go, "Oh, well, someone else somewhere else probably did and got better today." Oh. And then he would just walk away.
Just got drinking with you.
Yeah, so then we're just like, "Oh, we better go shoot our pucks then." And so he just had a really subtle way of making us want to go do it and not making us do it or forcing us to do it. He never watched us. He was working all the time because my parents had 6 kids. but he just had a subtle way of making us think about, okay, if I want to be really good at something, I can't just work hard when the season comes around and only work hard during practice. I need to put extra time and energy into what it is I want to accomplish. And if I want to be really good, I have to put more time and energy into it. And so I think just having that type of mindset and preparing to be the best we could be gave us the confidence to show up in the big moments. And just, I think true confidence comes from that type of preparation. You can't fake it in the big moments. You've either prepared or you haven't, and you're the only one who truly knows if you've done everything you can.
Which is a ton of pressure. It obviously works very well because you guys, you're Olympic medalists. I mean, gold medals. That's unbelievable.
Crazy.
We absolutely want to hear about that because it's an experience that so few people are ever going to get a taste of. So, when did you think that dream was something that you guys really could accomplish?
So we get asked that question quite a bit. And I think at a young age, so we saw the 98 Olympics when women's hockey was in the Olympics for the first time in 98. And so our mom she woke us up to watch that game because it was in Japan. And that was the first time we saw hockey, but we always watched the Olympics. Our mom always made sure it was on TV, and we were huge fans of, anything Olympics. It was our dream to be an Olympian. And then as we got older and gravitated towards hockey, then it turned into, I want to play hockey in the Olympics. I think at a young age, we knew we were good because we were some of the, if not the best players on the boys teams that we were playing on. And we would play on AAA teams or like elite teams that had kids from other states, or we'd play on Team North Dakota. And so we knew we were really good even amongst our male peers. And then when we first started going to different girls tournaments and we really excelled and did really well, that's when I think first we're like, okay, we can do this. And so we would probably be about 12 or 13 at that point. And once you get a taste of it, you're like, oh, we're good, not just for North Dakota, but we're good compared to girls from all over the country. It just made us thirsty to want to keep working and to keep getting better and achieve that dream as quick as we could.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And to be that age that you had that mindset and then actually go and fulfill that.
And so, hockey was a part of your life really from the start, from growing up. But did you guys have a big inspiration? Who was that person that, you really looked up to from the get-go?
I would say from a really young age, we really looked up to our brothers. And then as we were exposed to, I think, famous female athletes, we love Jackie Joyner-Kersee. But she was done competing before we would ever remember watching her on TV. And our mom gave us her book at an age where we could read it and understand her story. And so we've always just been huge fans of basically any big female athlete. Bonnie Blair is another great example of that. And I think of teams like the 99 World Cup team, I would say the biggest catalyst in changing women's sports globally ever. That's the biggest moment in female sports. And so there's moments, I would say, throughout our life where I can pinpoint different sporting events that really impacted me and my sister. I don't know if it's necessarily one athlete, but it's like these different moments that have really changed the trajectory of what it means to play sports, being a female athlete at an elite level. And it's impacted us in different ways as we've grown up and watched and now become those athletes.
I love that so much. Obviously,
that's our whole goal on Cup of Queens, is just to bring awareness to women. What's really cool is not only did you get to be involved in this women's sports and you got to see that, but you did it with your sister. So what was the dynamic like growing up with each other, you know, being twins and being compared, I'm sure, a lot, and then going to the Olympics together?
Yeah, I would say we have such a special relationship, and you know, we would not be where we are without each other. The day in and day out accountability and the standards that we held each other to is, I would say, unlike any other teammate relationship that we've ever seen or been a part of. And I think at sometimes it's a double-edged sword. You know, we always knew what each other was capable of, and you know, the level of play that we could execute at. And so when we were coming up short, you know, we weren't afraid to let each other know, and we would let each other know in ways that we would never let another teammate know.
Tough love, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it was, I think, always a fine line of like, we're going to hold each other accountable, but we're also going to let each other know if we're not meeting each other's expectations. But to have that day in and day out, I think is what makes great athletes great. And that's when, you know, if you're holding yourself and someone else to that standard, you know what to expect out of them in the big moments as well. And so to have that throughout our careers, it's just been, it's been a blessing. It's always been our dream to to make the team together. It was always we, it was never I. And so if it had just been one of us making, you know, different teams, it would have been really bittersweet. Honestly, I don't know. Like I think we both would say that, I would rather Monique make it, or she would say I would rather Jocelyn make it, which you would never say about anyone else.
Yeah. Right.
But it's just really been a unique, I would say, journey that we've been on. And it would just be so weird if it wasn't the two of us together doing it.
Yeah, I can't imagine having that just partner that goes with you through everything. I mean, you guys have been together.
Support system, really.
Totally.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think a great example is when we went to boarding school and we show up and we don't know anyone. We never had to walk into a lunchroom by ourselves and not know anyone. Like, we at least always had each other.
That is
and I would say sometimes it's a little bit of a crutch, but for the most part, it's always, you know, made our, I think, journey through life more fun for us.
Yeah. And something that you guys get to share together forever. I mean, you are going to be talking about these moments, I'm sure, with your kids as they're growing up, and you get to do that. You'll be together at Christmas and holidays, and that's really fun that you'll be able to relive those moments together.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree. And so what was it actually like being at the Olympics? So you're there, you've made it with your sister, you know, you're living your dream out. What was it like to be a part of that?
Each experience is different. Each Olympic experience has been different. And I would say in 2010, we went into that experience like we were just like, we're at the Olympics. This is awesome. We get to do all these things. And it was in Canada, so it was a very like comfortable, you know, culture, city to be around. So we were probably doing more than we should have been. And it was really easy to go see family. And so I would say in Vancouver, we really took it all in. But then also, on the flip side, in Sochi, it was a very different feel. It was in Russia. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere, so you couldn't even walk to go get a coffee if you wanted.
Really?
And it was very much a bubble, like not referring to COVID bubble, but it was pretty much a bubble. But then we were so singularly focused, not just us, but our team, on winning, that you almost forgot to take in the entire experience. And it's the Olympics, and you're focused and you're an athlete, but it's the Olympics, and you still should enjoy just the whole experience of being there as an Olympian. And so in 2018, we were really, I would say, conscious and intentional about enjoying the experience to a certain extent, being prepared obviously to play, but still wanting to take in the moment and enjoy everything. And a funny story to do that. You have to walk everywhere. The Olympic Village is pretty big. And so it's a lot of walking, which adds up over a 3-week time frame. And so my sister and I, after being there for like 4 or 5 days, we saw a couple athletes from different countries with motorized scooters. And so we're like, we should just get those. It'd just be easier to like
have those.
go get a coffee.
Yeah.
And so we tried a couple different coffee shops, and then we found one that we liked. And the barista, his name was Juan D. And after 3 days of going there, he knew what we wanted.
Oh,
and so we would,
that's awesome.
yeah, we would rip around on these little not mopeds, they're scooters, stand-up scooters. And it was just like, it was something small, but allowed us to really like enjoy just being there. And we'd rip around the village or like the little downtown area. And so it was pretty cool to do that, but just it allowed us to really just take in the moment. And then obviously to win, it makes it that much more special.
That's so cool that the third time that you guys really made that a priority to be like, we're going to just enjoy this. We want to soak everything in. And that's the time when that ultimate goal was reached.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think you learn those things because of the past experiences. And you try to, learn and grow. And I think, we were all just very intentional about it, and just aware of how, 2014 went versus 2010, and, what can we take away? And like I said, it's the Olympics. You want to enjoy it as much as you can as an athlete. And so just being able to do that with Monique, but obviously our teammates, made it the most special, and not just because we won, but just being able to take in that whole experience.
Being that you guys have those experiences, is the team fairly different from each of those times? Are the players very much the same, where you kind of had that chance to really bond and kind of vibe together, or were they a pretty different roster?
There's a pretty big turnover after each Olympic cycle, but I would say so 2010 happened, and then you have a turnover, and then from 2011 to 14, that roster stays pretty similar. And then after the Olympics, there's a turnover, and then you got to play with Angela Ruggiero in 2010. She was a 4-time Olympian, and we watched her play in '98. And playing with different veterans like Julie Chu played in 4 Olympics. She played in 10 and 14 with us, and so getting to play with different players from different generations was really special. And you obviously learn so much from veterans like that who have the experiences that they do. And then there's teammates that we, played our entire careers with, some players like Megan Duggan and Casey Bellamy and Hillary Knight. So you basically grow up with these players, and it's just been a really special, I would say, relationships that we've been able to develop with all our teammates.
So do you guys still keep in touch? Do you still communicate?
Absolutely. It's actually pretty funny. We have, it's basically everyone who's moms now. And it's funny. Everyone has had boys except for Julie Chu and her wife. They have 2 girls, but everyone else on the chat just has boys. And so we're just joking about putting them on a dating game once they're old enough. But yeah, we keep in touch with a lot of teammates, and it's fun if we ever get back together with them. It's like you never miss a beat. It's pretty fun.
Just pick up where you left off.
Yeah, for sure.
That is awesome. Well, and I'm sure your chemistry with those teammates is just something like you've never experienced before, but your chemistry with you and your sister has got to be pretty spot on, because you both played a huge part in that gold medal. Your sister scored the tying goal, and then you finished it off with the winning goal. So what was the first thing that you thought of when you knew that you guys were the winners?
Right away, you're not really thinking anything, because it's just a complete dog pile, like chaos, celebrating with teammates. And then after, it's actually quite the process, like the medal ceremony. You get to celebrate for a really long time, which is awesome, because they have to like roll out the carpets, the bronze medal team comes out. And we're one of the only sports, I think, other than soccer, where the medal ceremony happens at the venue right at the game. Other sports, the medal ceremony is at night, and it's like the athletes walk out onto a stage and like there's an actual venue for it.
Sure.
But we get to enjoy our celebration longer because of how hockey is set up. So it's pretty chaotic at the beginning because everyone's celebrating. And then we have, you shake hands, you get to just watch the bronze medalists get their medals, silver medalists get their medals. And then as you're waiting, I think it starts to all sink in, all the people that have been there along the way, and the people who have impacted your career and your family, who's been there every step of the way. I think that's the moment where it starts to sink in and you think about those things. And it's just really special. Our parents were there, our husbands were there. We had an aunt and uncle there. And so to be able to share that moment with them, it just makes it more special.
Oh,
that
incredible. Yes, it does. I know I'm like teary-eyed because I just can't even imagine.
I can't imagine being there, seeing it. It's so incredible. I don't even have words.
And I
love that story.
I think of, from your parents and your guys' husband's perspective, watching you two accomplish that dream that you've been chasing. I'm sure it was a huge moment for them in the stands too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can only imagine how stressful it is watching a game like that as a parent. And then it was funny. There's actually a picture, I don't know who took it, of one of our brothers had FaceTimed our mom, and she was on the glass. And so I think Monique saw my mom on the glass. And so Monique went up to her, and our mom flips the phone over, and she's FaceTiming one of our brothers. And so it's pretty special just to, our brothers were watching. We know that, they watched us in the previous Olympics, and we came up short. And so how emotional it is kind of for the whole family, but to be able to share that. And I think of like the little thing, like our brother FaceTimed our mom because it went into commercial on TV. And so it's just kind of funny when you think about it. Like he felt like he was missing out.
Yeah. What's going on? What's happening?
I gotta see for myself.
That is funny. So awesome.
So did you guys have a mantra or anything to kind of help you get through your career, or just continue to stay positive? I know you talked about, your competition got stronger today. Did you? That was something that I think you and I, Saray, both really, our boss actually says that to us, but was there something that you guys had?
I don't know if it's necessarily a mantra, but we've definitely had bigger points of adversity throughout our career, and even making the national team or the Olympic roster in 2018 was a challenge. Despite having been playing very well up to that point. And so I would say it wasn't necessarily a mantra as much as it was just a belief in our ability to play our best when we needed to. And that confidence, I think, just comes from within. To have true confidence like that, it has to come from knowing that you've prepared the best you can. And especially when, you're feeling the heat from the coaches, they're obviously not giving you much confidence. And as you get older, it doesn't really come from your parents, and your teammates can only do so much. So I think to just truly believe it, to have a true confidence where you believe where you can perform even under the highest stress and highest pressure situations, I think comes from knowing that you put in the best effort you could to prepare for those moments. And so, I don't know if it's necessarily a mantra, but more of a belief in the amount of work that we've put in to be the best we could be.
Yeah. And you couldn't ask for more. You couldn't ask to be better than what you guys were. So, you made that huge goal, and what do you do after that? So what did post-Olympic life look like for you guys?
Yeah. So Monique and I knew that having having an Olympic platform is amazing. If you win a gold medal, especially in the US, it's a totally different ball game. If you don't win, people don't really care.
Yeah.
But when you win, it's at least in a team sport, if you play the roles like Monique and I did, there's, I would say, opportunities that come after the Olympics. And so we were very fortunate that we had a partnership with Comcast leading into the Olympics. We were on their roster of athletes prior to the Olympics. And then when the Olympics were over, we sat down with a friend, and now he's a mentor. And he asked me, like, what do you guys want to do? Like, what do you want to do with this opportunity? And I think Monique and I both said we want to do something that matters. I mean, going to events and taking pictures and signing autographs, that's fine every once in a while, but that's not what we want to do. That's not how we want to capitalize on this opportunity. And so we became Comcast brand ambassadors for their corporate values initiatives. And he showed us, presented what that would look like. Jackie Joyner-Kersee was the previous ambassador. Tony Dungy was before her. And we would travel to different parts of the country, to low-income schools, low-income city or inner city neighborhoods, and promote their Internet Essentials program, which provides low-cost internet to low-income Americans. And it really opened our eyes to different challenges that people face just in everyday life. And just that simple program, you think about, what does the internet mean today for people? And if you don't have it, especially in COVID world, when everything's virtual. And so we really, I think, took that experience, and then we would come home and we would say, what are we doing in North Dakota? What are we doing in our hometown? And so we thought about doing a foundation, and we were like, okay, that's 5-10 years away. And our friend encouraged us to basically just get it started. And so we're pretty much flying by the seat of our pants the first couple of years, not really sure what we were doing. But it's really, I think, given us just an appreciation, and we really value the work that we do to help underprivileged kids. We want to meet their basic needs so that they can focus on school. So, for example, we equalized the lunch program in Grand Forks so that families who qualified for free and reduced lunches at school, they were getting fed, but it was a cold sandwich. So we're like, okay, everyone should get a hot meal, and let's erase the stigma and make sure everyone gets a hot meal. And that's something a child shouldn't have to worry about. Mm-hmm. And so that was our first donation. But we think about things like that and what it really means to be impactful and to make a difference. And I mean, that's what we meant when we said we want to do something important. We want to do something that matters. And so that's really been our focus since 2018.
Gosh,
that's incredible.
Those little moments.
Yeah.
I love that you gave that example of a cold lunch versus a hot meal. Like, right. It seems so small, but those little moments add up, and you're going to be, making a huge difference with these kids' lives. Mm-hmm. And that's incredible that you could so easily, like you said, go sign autographs, go take photos. But I love that your goal was, we want to do something that's going to matter.
Yeah. And I think doing like that stuff is just so short-lived, and I think short-sighted on the opportunity and platform that we had. And so we really just wanted to leverage our opportunity to its fullest capacity. And so we feel like we've done that. We feel like we're still doing that. And it's been really rewarding.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you're making an impact right there in Grand Forks, right where you're from. And I think that's so cool because I think a lot of people would, let me do the fame kind of side of it, the pictures, the autographs, but you guys are utilizing your platform for the greater good. So I think that's great. And I know you wrote a book, and Saray and I, we're so excited to read it. Yes. Actually, we're running out today to get it. So we're hoping to have it, but we're excited to read it. So we know a little bit about what's in it, Dare to Make History. But is there anything that you guys didn't include in the book that you maybe wanted to? To
be honest, I don't think we didn't leave out anything. I think it was, there are moments where you have to pick and choose. You're writing a book and it seems like you're going to be able to tell everything. You just have to pick and choose which moments get more time and words, I guess. And we really wanted to make sure that that we shared our story, but also our team story. And when we were deciding if we were going to write a book, and we were encouraged by a couple people, like, you guys have a unique story, and it's, I think they were saying it was book worthy, and we're like, are we really that interesting? Like, but we really felt like it was important to share our team story, and the negotiations that our team went through 2015 to 2017, and the boycott that our team had. And that was really the nudge that we needed, because we both feel like that was such an important part of women's hockey history and women's sports history. To be able to share it was important to us. And so that, I think, is... I don't know what happened there. Yeah, thanks, Yuri. To be able to share that in conjunction with our story and our journey and what it's meant to be a part of Team USA and after, and how it's impacted our lives. It's a tedious process writing a book, but to be able to share our team story is really that's a huge section in the book, and we hope that people really learn a lot from that experience.
And I know I've seen a couple of your guys' interviews and articles, and you say that this isn't a hockey book. This isn't a book that is only applicable to people who are in the hockey world. It's so much bigger than that. And I think, watching the viral videos going on with March Madness and the women's basketball teams, and you have to think that you guys have definitely propelled a movement that is starting to ripple into other sports and other probably areas. So I think it's so much more than what maybe the average person is going to look at, thinking, what the cover is, seeing two of you in your house.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much beyond that.
Yeah, I know the initial reaction will be, oh, this is a sports book, this is a hockey book, but we really were intentional with making sure that we weren't making the hockey moments too big, or using too much hockey lingo. We wanted people to be able to understand exactly what we were talking about. And we really, when we say it's for everyone, we really feel like it's for everyone, is, for girls and boys and parents, and just, we feel like it resonates in so many ways with different age groups. And so it was a very intentional process of making sure that we weren't getting too hockey focused, and that's really what we didn't want it to be about, was just the hockey. It's everything outside of the arena and the games that makes this journey so important. And ultimately, that's like the final lesson in the book, is if all it's ever about is winning games and winning medals, what a short-sighted view of what it can all be about. And we all have opportunities to make a difference, big or small, within our lives, our families, our communities. And we hope that we inspire others that, they can make an impact and a difference as well.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to read it. Yes.
And I love that word, intentional. I think that's so great. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
So
we're really excited. And, you've done so much. You're a mom, you're now an author, you have the foundation, you're an athlete. So with everything that you and your sister have achieved, how do you really allow yourself to celebrate those without letting maybe your athleticism define you? I think a lot of athletes that I know, they kind of become, that's who they are, when you're so much more than that. So how have you navigated through those feelings?
Well, I think from a young age, our parents always defined success in how hard we worked. It was never about winning games or points and assists. It was, from a young age, our dad, and we share this in the book, always use the face in the mirror speech. So after a big game, if you can look yourself in the mirror and say you did your best, you prepared your best, you were a good teammate, that's all you can do. And if you lose, it's disappointing, but it's not, you haven't failed in the process. And so from a young age, we've always taken that approach with everything that we've set out to do. And I mean, as a female athlete, you know that you're not going to make millions of dollars, you know, when you're done playing. And we've been very fortunate to have, you know, big opportunities throughout our athletic career. But now we're kind of moving on to the next thing, and we've always known that it was going to come. And so we've just never defined ourselves by only being hockey players. And I think, you know, writing a book, it was part of that process. Starting our foundation was a part of that. And it's just never only been about hockey for us. I mean, even if that's what people know us for, that's fine. And that's what's given us other opportunities. But I think that also goes to the people that we've surrounded ourselves with, and they keep us honest and they keep us accountable. And I would say it doesn't, we just have to walk into our parents' house and get made fun of by our brothers to bring us back down to reality if we ever needed to. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what brothers are for.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what advice would you give to any young female who's aspiring, you know, to chase their dreams, or aspiring athlete in a male dominated world?
I would say you have to dream big for yourself, and you have to set out to accomplish those goals, because no one else is going to do that for you, and no one else is going to put in the work. And you might have more obstacles to overcome than your male counterparts. But don't use that as a crutch as to why you can't do something. You might have to put in more time and energy and work to get to where you want to go. But if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it for you. And so you have to dream big and set those goals for yourself, and then work hard to accomplish it.
Perfectly said.
Perfectly said. Yeah, love that.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
And it's really cool that you guys, that's the message that you're spreading and that you're sharing. And I think you're going to inspire so many women. But I mean, ultimately, you guys have been doing hockey for so long. That's been a huge part of your life. So what was kind of that moment where you felt like, you know what, we're ready to close this chapter of our book, and we're ready to move on to these other areas and focus on other things?
I think, you know, COVID really had a big part to play. We both had babies not right after, but we were able to get pregnant after the Olympics in 2018 and had babies, and we trained and came back and made the national team the following season. And then COVID happened. And then in that 18-month span, we lost 2 grandparents and our godfather, and it really just made us reevaluate the things that we felt like we might be missing. And we'd never felt that way. Like, we've missed family weddings, we've missed funerals, we've missed proms, all of that type of thing, and have never really felt like we've missed out. And it'd be almost 2 years ago now, or a year and a half, our grandma had passed away, and we had to leave for camp. And then in the middle of games, fly to go to the funeral. And then the following day, we had to fly back to Anaheim on a 6 a.m. flight to go play in a game against Canada. And I just remember the whole day thinking, like, what is this all for? At the end of the day, like, what is this all for? And I think that's the first time we really felt like we're not where we should be. And so I think just reevaluating, obviously, when you have kids, it totally changes your priorities and your perspectives and what you're putting your time and energy to. And so after that, we really just kind of took the time to reevaluate, like, what is it that we want to do moving forward. And so we just felt like it was the right time, and to do it together, it would just not be fitting to not do it together. And then, you know, Monique was pregnant and expecting, and the timeline that would take to get back to good enough shape to try out. I mean, she didn't feel like it was enough time. And so, yeah, we just felt like it was the right time for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's huge. And I'm sure it was a hard decision and hard to probably imagine what life is going to be like with that big change. But it's really great to hear you talk about just understanding when that time comes. Cause I think anyone
reevaluating the priorities too,
Yeah.
you know, where you kind of had that moment, like, what is this all for? You know?
Yeah. And not many athletes get to walk away on their own terms. And that was something that we had talked to a friend and mentor that we'd worked with on a sports psychologist side for over, I would say, almost 10 years now. And that's a really powerful thing, I think, as an athlete, even when you still feel like you might be able to compete and have fuel in the tank to be an impactful player at the elite level. But to be able to do it on your own terms, I think is important. And that was really important to us.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Sure. Well, you guys have done so many great things, so many incredible accomplishments. So what's next? What's next for you guys?
Well, Monique's got a newborn, and we're focused on our families, and obviously our foundation has become a priority for us, and really getting organized with what that can look like as far as long term. And then I think if there's a way for us to stay involved in hockey, we want to, and what that looks like, I think have to figure that out. But yeah, I mean, I think those are the things right now that we're focused on, and having this time with family. It's time that we've never had before our entire lives. We've always just been so focused on hockey. So to be able to, I don't want to say take a step back, but, you know, kind of take a step to the side and, you know, reorganize our lives has been fun these last couple months, and it's been busy, so I don't want to say take a step back, because it hasn't been slower, but it's been good for us, and it's been I would say good timing with everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you guys should enjoy every second of it, because it's very well deserved with everything that you have accomplished and crammed into, you know, the short time that really you guys have been doing this. So, I mean, we want to pick your brain a little bit, because you have done so much and you've trained for a lot. So we have a game that we want to play before we end, and it's training with Jocelyn. So
we're so excited. We always play like fun games on every episode, and we're like, you know what? This is so fitting.
Yes.
So
you're going to be our coach.
We're bringing it out.
You're going to tell us how to train for some of these things. And some of them are a little bit more abstract than what you would think, but
okay.
First and foremost, what do you train for now, being post-Olympian? How do you train?
I work out 4 to 6 times a week, and I'm just trying to be healthy and fit. That's all I care about. There are things that I do not do anymore because I'm not playing hockey. But for the most part, I just try and keep it pretty basic, nothing fancy, just trying to stay healthy and fit.
Yeah,
love it.
That's perfect. How do you train your mind to adjust to a new situation? So for example, you know, post hockey, how do you get in that mindset?
You know what? I have to-do lists. That's what I do. I have to-do lists, and like what's my schedule going to be like? It's always been like training, lifting, all that type of stuff. And now it's just different to-dos throughout the day. And so keeping a list really keeps me like on the ball with everything that needs to get done in a day.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I know mental toughness is huge in sports. So how do you train to be mentally strong?
I think to be mentally tough, you just have to understand that whatever it is that you're doing, there's always someone else who might be able to bring something else to the table, and to not take that personal. I think that's been a huge lesson in being on a team my entire life, is everyone brings different strengths to the table, and someone else's strengths doesn't take away from your strengths. And just being able to collaborate and work together has, I think, and being confident in what you bring to the table allows you to be mentally strong in moments that might be awkward or uncomfortable, or maybe points of criticism have come. And so just trusting the strengths that you bring, I think allows people to be mentally tough when moments of adversity come.
I love that.
I think that's
That's
huge.
so perfect.
I mean, somebody doesn't have to fail in order for you to succeed.
Yeah.
That is
Right.
well
We all
said.
have our own strengths.
For sure.
Yep.
How do you train your mind to handle a negative situation or how to walk away from a negative situation?
I mean, when I'm in a playing situation, I would say like mistakes are going to happen. They're always going to happen. No game ever goes perfectly. And so you identify the mistake, acknowledge it. And then, what would you have done differently? You can do that all in your head within like 5-10 seconds. And then you move on to the next thing. To not dwell on it. If you're focused on what you just did and what you screwed up, then it's pretty hard to move forward in a positive direction. And so I think however that applies in everyday life, depending on the scenario, it would be pretty applicable. But that's basically how I played my hockey in my hockey career, or try to anyways. It's easier said than done sometimes.
Absolutely, but totally applicable to life. So, you have to have some confidence to go out onto an Olympic arena and, know that everyone's watching you. So how do you train to be confident? What do you do to hype yourself up and get excited?
Well, I think when you're on the Olympic stage, you don't really have to hype yourself up. It's pretty exciting to be there. And to have the confidence to perform, I mean, that doesn't come a day before the Olympics or a week or two. That comes from years of training and being excited and not nervous and knowing how to manage those emotions, going into an event like that and throughout a game. I think just you prepare for it, and how you prepare, I think, gives you that confidence.
Totally.
So speaking of nerves, I can't even imagine what it would feel like when you're out there for the very first time. So how do you cope with nerves?
Well, I would say the biggest thing and the best way I've heard it put was with our sports psych doc that we worked with. Nerves are good. And physiologically, whether you categorize that as being nervous or being excited, it's the same thing happening in your body. And so you have these butterflies and these high pressure moments, and it's getting those butterflies to fly in formation instead of all over the place. I think that's the best way to explain it, or how it's been explained to me. So being nervous is good, and having that nervous, butterfly energy is totally fine, but making sure that it's not derailing you off of the task at hand is what's important. And so being able to manage those emotions and recognize that that's okay. Let's just make sure we're managing this in an appropriate way.
Organized butterflies. I love that so much. That is such a perfect way to put that.
How do you train to know when to push harder?
I think, from a physical standpoint, it's not knowing when, it's just knowing how hard you can push yourself. And I would say very few people know what their limit is, because they've never put themselves in uncomfortable positions before, or physically. From a training standpoint, very few people push themselves to the limit, so they don't know what their limit is. They get to that uncomfortable point, and they're like, "Oh, this is uncomfortable. I'm done here." Mm-hmm. But your mind, I think, is powerful in that regard, and if you can push yourself through those moments of discomfort, your body can do so much more than you originally thought.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so applicable in life too. Pushing yourself to be the best person, the best sister. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's times where it's uncomfortable in any aspect, mm-hmm. but just knowing that's just a mental block sometimes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of that, last question, and I think this is definitely one of the most important ones, but training to be your best self.
That's a loaded one.
Yeah.
I think
probably the hardest one.
Yeah. I think you just have to, be able to honestly evaluate what your strengths and weaknesses are. And that's not always the easiest thing. And those strengths and weaknesses can play out in different ways in different scenarios in your life, whether that's relationships or at work or on the ice. I know that my leadership style, it was very different than my sister's, and I sometimes needed to deliver things in a better way to teammates than I did. And so learning from that, recognizing, okay, this is a strength, but it can also not be a strength sometimes. And just being able to honestly self-evaluate, I think gives you the opportunity to be better down the road. But if you're not honest with yourself, it's pretty hard to, I think, get better at anything. And so to be your best self, I think you just have to really truly be able to be honest with how you are towards yourself and towards other people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
I love that.
Perfect.
That's
love
great.
it. That was good.
I can't wait to re-listen to this whole episode.
Yes.
There's so many, I mean, everything you said, but there's so many nuggets that I think we can all take away
And apply.
Where can people find you? Where can people find
So my sister and I have a website. It's lamoureuxtwins.com, and all our social handles are on there, but our Twitter and Instagram are together. Twitter is @LamoureuxTwins. Facebook is Monique and Jocelyn Lamoureux. I'm pretty sure you can do the @LamoureuxTwins on Facebook as well. And then you can type in our names for Instagram and we should pop up. But we keep everything pretty up to date. We're pretty active on our social channels. And but if all of that has been forgotten already, if you just go to lamoureuxtwins.com, you can pretty much find everything.
Perfect. And we will have that all linked on YouTube, on our social too.
Yeah.
And we are so excited to read your book.
Yes.
We cannot wait to follow along and just see what you guys continue to do, because it's incredible the steps that you're already taking. We know it's only going to continue to grow from there.
Well, thank you so much for having me. We appreciate it. I appreciate it.
This was so fun.
So
and
fun.
we will, stay in touch for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.